Can we talk about the name? Because I think that maybe tells the first story more than anything. And it's so, it's kind of great in so many ways because it's so misinterpreted. So Vince's gym is called Minnie's House of Pain. And most people are like, oh my gosh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I don't want to have pain. That's the whole point of going and doing the fitness work is I don't want to be in pain. And then, of course, we're doing, rehab work inside Minnie's House of Pain. And it's like, this doesn't seem like a good idea. But it is. It's a great idea. So let me have Vince tell you the story because I think when you hear it, you'll be like, wow, this is a different spin than I expected and so great.
Well, you're right. Including yourself. Including my own business partner and who's been with me forever, and people on the outside. Basically, when they hear the name Minnie's House of Pain, the first thing you think of yourself is one of two things. Wow, this is really intriguing, and what kind of place is this? Or you're thinking to yourself, well, you know what, I'm not going to go to some place that's going to cause me to be uncomfortable and in pain. And I think what happens is that's where getting to know people really happens, right? Because why don't you take that next step to really find out what this place is all about, okay? Or any place with that name. So how it started was back in the early 90s, I had a young man who would walk past my house every day at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I have no idea why, but one day he stops at the manhole cover in the middle of the street, and this is out in Roseville. And he yells at me, and I'm working out in my garage, and he yells at me, and he says, hey, mister, can I work out with you? And I said, come here, man. I said, he walks up the driveway. I said, how come you walk past my house at 11 o'clock every morning? I got nothing better to do, sir. And he called me sir. I couldn't believe he called me sir, right? So I said, well, what do you mean you have nothing to do? How old are you? He goes, I'm 15 and a half. I'm going to be 16. I said, why aren't you in school? He says, I don't go to school. I said, what do you mean you don't go to school? It bores me. I got nothing to do there. And I could look at him, and I could see he's dirty. I can see he's not, his hygiene's not good. And I said, well, where's your parents? And he says to me, I don't know. Mom left me 5 years ago. He said, and if I go home at night, and I'll just use the word abbreviation, the SOB is drunk, and he beats me every night. I said, so where do you live? And he says to me, well, he says, I live over there, and he points west, and west was the railroad tracks. And I said to him, that's the railroad yard. He goes, I know. He goes, I sleep in a car every night until they kick me out. I was like, hold on a minute. Let's sit down and talk about this. So he sat, and I didn't really think about it at the time. It was just instinctually. So I'm sitting down, and I'm talking to him, and I said to him, I'm going to tell you what, and I kind of said this half-heartedly as well, like never thinking he'd take me up on it. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to train you if you do three things. You can train with me every day. I said, you got to get clean, we got to reunite you with your family, and you got to get a high school education. He says, okay, I can do that. I said, and I'll help you. So long story short, 3 years later, he accomplished all three. We ended up getting him reunited with his dad. He got his high school education, and he was clean and getting ready to go to junior college. And at that moment, he walks into the garage one day, and he hands me a garbage bag. And in the garbage bag, it was a gray big leaf garbage bag. He hands me a sign. And I pulled a sign out, and he made it. It was beautiful. I mean, I didn't know he was an artist. And I said, wow, what is this? And he says to me, this is for you. And it was Vincent Minnie's House of Pain, and it was a Taskmaster with a whip. But pain was in red. And I said, Lance, why are you giving me this? He says, you gave me everything and asked me for nothing. He said, this is the only way I can repay you. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I took the sign, I hung it up on the wall in the garage. And I said, if I'm ever lucky enough someday to get my own facility, I'll name it after you. Long story short, here we are. And for so many years, I've had so many people try to talk me out of the name, but I made a commitment. And you can't go back on that commitment. So, I've even said to Tony, if it were to cost me every single person who ever came through the doors, I made a commitment to this young man that I'll never go back on. So that's how the name came to be and came to stay. And, most people in business would say, never put your name on a business. I didn't, he did. And so,
well, that's how you operate.
Yeah.
gets you upraised that level of loyalty. And,
Exactly.
And I think that story it's just incredible. Like
Yeah.
the impact you had on his life. I know he's successful now.
Yeah, he's a chaplain with a couple of sheriff's department, Yolo County probation. Married, three children. They're all in college now, and he's doing very well. We still keep in touch, and I think that's the biggest thing is the relationship more than anything.
Yeah. It's just so special. I get to see this with Vince, and this is what we all strive for in this field of coaching. You know, whether no matter what level you're really doing, if you're doing it in rehab or you're doing it in strength conditioning or in personal training or whatever it might be, is really influencing people's lives.
Yeah.
And so that's such a perfect example and a great thing to be named after. I want people to know more about that story because I really just think it's so moving. It brings what we intend to do to life, and that's really what it's all about: is how can we impact people.
And sometimes we forget that.
Right.
You know, when we're going through the process.
Yeah.
We get so busy and have to see so many people that people tend to seem to forget that.
It happens easily, right?
Yeah.
It just starts to become like, now I have to make money to pay the rent and this and that, and you can get caught up getting a little sideways on the process instead of staying true to the roots. But that's one thing I just respect a ton out of you for is that loyalty and that it always comes down to the client.